Dr. William Davis here, author of the Wheat Belly and Undoctored books. So you're not still eating seeds of grasses, are you? Let me tell you what that means. Well, all grains, whether it's wheat, rye, barley, rice, oats, millet, sorghum, etc., all grains are seeds of grasses. Literally, they're the seeds of grass plants. And humans don't have the digestive apparatus that allows them to break down the proteins of the seeds of grasses. There are creatures who can do fine on seeds of grasses or grass plants, like ruminants, horses, cows, sheep, goats, etc. They have very specific adaptations that developed over millions of years that allow them to eat grasses. For instance, they have teeth that grow continuously because there are sand-like particles in the blades of grass that erode teeth. We grow teeth only twice in a lifetime, right? They produce up to 100 quarts of saliva a day. We produce a measly 1 quart. They have a 4-compartment stomach, including a compartment that grinds down the grasses. We only have a single compartment stomach, and they have unique microorganisms, both bacteria and fungi in their stomach to help break down the grasses. They have a long spiral colon for increased further digestion of the grasses. We have a short colon with a couple of turns. So we don't have any of the very unique adaptations required that allow us to eat grasses or any component of grass. And you know what? Humans, sadly, have tried to eat grass, right? In times of war or famine, people have tried to eat grass. What happens to them? Well, they throw it up, gives them a stomach ache, you have diarrhea. If any passes all the way through your gastrointestinal tract, it comes out completely intact. It is indigestible. Well, that's true of the blades of grass, it's true of the roots, true of the stalk, it's true of the husk, it's also true of the seeds. We cannot digest most of the components of the seeds of grasses, but most of the proteins. So for instance, there's a protein called wheat germ agglutinin. Sounds like gluten, but it's unrelated to gluten, though both occur in the wheat plant, of course. But wheat germ agglutinin is completely impervious to human digestion, as it is to boiling or baking. Nothing happens to it, it stays intact. So when you ingest wheat germ agglutinin, which you do when you eat grains, it passes all the way through your gastrointestinal tract untouched by your enzymes, stomach acid, etc. It comes out in the toilet. But as it passes all the way through, it is highly toxic. It creates destruction to the intestinal lining, very similar to celiac disease, even though it's a different mechanism. It's not immune mediated. It's a direct toxicity. It also blocks your pancreatic function. It blocks release of bile from your gallbladder. And that's a situation that cultivates gallstones. You get gallstone, you get crystallization, and you form stones. So that's one protein. The gliadin protein within gluten is also not entirely indigestible, but only partially digestible. So when you eat an egg, say, or a pork chop, those proteins are broken down into single amino acids. That's how we're supposed to digest proteins. Gliadin can't be broken down to single amino acids. We don't have the enzymes to break it down to single amino acids. There are amino acid sequences that we simply can't break down. So it's reduced instead to 4 or 5 amino acid long peptides. And these peptides, not only are they toxic to the gastrointestinal tract, they also can enter the bloodstream. And those gliadin-derived peptides are also opioids. They act like opioids because they're very different in structure than morphine or OxyContin, but they cross into the brain and bind to the opiate receptors of the human brain. And that's where they have a variety of effects depending on individual susceptibility. So kids with ADHD or autistic spectrum disorder have behavioral outbursts, and it abbreviates their attention span. Gliadin-derived opioid peptides can cause depression in people who are prone to depression. It can cause the mania of bipolar illness. It can cause hearing voices, auditory hallucinations, and paranoia in people with paranoid schizophrenia. In people who are prone to bulimia or binge eating disorder, gliadin-derived opioid peptides can cause 24-hour-a-day food obsessions. In you and me who don't have those conditions, it only causes appetite, triggers appetite, such that these are the people who say, I ate a big bowl of pasta, my stomach is bursting, it's so full, and I'm still hungry. Or I ate an hour ago too, I'm hungry again. That's the gliadin-derived opioid peptide appetite stimulating effect. So those are just a couple of examples of how humans should not be consuming the seeds of grasses because they are very destructive. Now, ironically, there is something in the seeds of grasses that is digestible, and that's the amylopectin A. That's the carbohydrate, the complex carbohydrate that dietitians tell us is better for us than simple sugars. Is that true? No, it's complete fiction. The complex carbohydrate of wheat and related grains, amylopectin A, is uniquely and highly digestible by the enzyme amylase in the stomach and in the mouth. And it means that it raises blood sugar higher and faster than table sugar. So when you eat anything made of grains, like a sandwich on whole wheat bread, your blood sugar skyrockets immediately and to a high degree because of the unique digestibility of the amylopectin. It's the exception to the general rule that humans can't digest the components of the seeds of grasses. Well, there you have it. We've been told by U.S. dietary guidelines, USDA food pyramid, food plate, that we should dominate every meal, every snack with the seeds of grasses. But I hope you see that makes no sense whatsoever.